And what's going on, everybody? Welcome again here to Offseason Sessions number 5. I am your host, Jeremy Case, here on Crossbarsandzambonis, presented to you by the Spotlight Sports Network. Well, I guess the NHL draft happened. That happened last night. I did not watch it. I was at work. Had really no desire to watch it, no desire to cover it. Just for the given fact that like the story of the real offseason this year was all about the Kraken, the expansion draft. That was really the bigger story. And due to the fact that a lot of the players in this draft really didn't even get to play last year due to that thing that we were all going through called a pandemic. So, I mean, all the prospects are coming out. I honestly don't even know what to say about it because it's just like they haven't played in almost 2 years. So it's going to be hard. I know like the University of Michigan had a ton of draft picks come out of their school. I mean, good for them. I think it was like 10 players taken overall by the University of Michigan. It's pretty insane, man. It's pretty insane. But yeah, if you're new to this, it's Crossbars and Zambonis. We're a hockey podcast. We cover all things NHL. If you can, like, subscribe. We have all forms of social media. As you can see them like down here, and yeah, I'm still getting the hang of this shit. It's on the bottom. So go ahead and also like all the other shows on the Spotlight Sports Network as well. So draft happened. Don't know much about it. Although I will say, as I mentioned in my new video that's about to come out today about the ever-loving roasting of the Edmonton Oilers, you guys had a chance to try and fix your defense because that was kind of like the glaring problem with you guys last year. And you went and got a center. Like, either Connor McDavid is already pissed off and he wants to leave Edmonton, or he's going to be pissed off and going to want out of Edmonton if you continue to do such things like this. I don't get it. I don't get the Edmonton Oilers. I don't understand it. I'm having a hard time doing it. But with that being said, we also have our first ever guest today on the show, Joshua Kimmel. He's going to be joining us here in about 30-ish minutes here on the spot or on the Crossbars and Zambonis here on the presented by Spotlight Sports Network. He was actually at the cup clinching game for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So we're going to talk to him about all that experience, getting all that stuff in and everything else. So, it's going to be an interesting interview and get some perspective about that too. So, very much looking forward to that. What else did I have here? Let's see. What was I mentioning? Oh yeah. Before we get all of that, let's get all into the off-season craziness that has been happening. Along with the draft happening last night, there was also a absolute shitload of trades that happened. I don't even know where to start, so I guess I'll just start here, which broke this morning. Columbus has acquired Jacob Voracek from the Flyers in exchange for Cam Atkinson. 1-on-1, no salary retained. Pretty solid trade. Good pickup for the Flyers. The Flyers are kind of like, they seem like they're in a transitional period right now. They're kind of getting getting rid of what they see to be not helping their team and replacing that with either assets or picks or both. So a lot of teams are doing that right now. Namely, the Arizona Coyotes are doing that too. They absolutely acquired a bunch of picks yesterday and have been willing and dealing. They are definitely trying to recover from those wounds that was previous of 2 years ago when they got penalized for tampering violations and and that whole John Chaika situation. That was fun. They're still paying for that. Another news, finally, some news from the Colorado Avalanche. They re-signed, Cale Makar to a 6-year, $54 million contract with an AAV of $9 million per year. Great way to get that done for the Avalanche. Avalanche need to get that done. Cale Makar is an essential part of the heartbeat of that team. I'm glad they got that done as an Avalanche fan myself. Yeah, man, you need him. You need him, and it's good to see him get paid finally after coming off of that entry deal. So good for him. Good for Colorado. I want to talk about what's going on with the Montreal Canadiens. I don't understand, like, fans in Montreal and in Toronto, why they have to be like so. Like, I get Canada is the birthplace of hockey. I understand that, but dude, holy shit! When a team has to come out and explain why they picked the draft pick that they picked, if that makes any sense, minutes after drafting him, I mean, I get it. I get it. Like, I understand what the Canadiens were doing. And, you know, I mean, Logan Malou obviously had some controversy, and, he owned up to it. He owned up to it as a man. And, I feel like I feel like with this whole entire, like, I don't really want to call it cancel culture, but this whole entire, like, people raising eyebrows at certain situations, I feel like if a person makes a mistake once, I mean, we're human. We're all human, right? We all make mistakes. We all do stupid shit. I feel like that the fact that he owned up to it and apologized is commendable, and I don't see really a problem with it. I don't, by no means am I excusing what Logan has done, but obviously Montreal was aware of the situation, and like, for them to put out a statement is kind of redundant, because it's just like, it should be obvious. They're not obviously going to pick up somebody who is going to be a detriment to their, believe me, with as serious of a PR culture as Montreal is with their fans and everything, they're not going to put their organization at risk for severe scrutiny by picking up somebody who's just going to continuously make mistakes. So much ado about nothing, in my opinion, quite honestly, but it's insane to me. It's insane that people have to come out and explain themselves. In some instances, it should be pretty obvious. So, but and a lot of people are comparing this to the the Coyote situation when they drafted Mitch Miller, and I mean, you can't really blame the Canadiens, because the letter of apology that explaining the situation, it broke only publicly after the draft. Does that mean the Canadiens had no knowledge about it? I don't want to say they did, but I mean, we could see the results of the same Mitch Miller situation, but I don't know. I don't think Montreal did this in consciousness. I don't think they purposefully picked somebody that would be a detriment to their PR. I just don't believe that, but I don't know. He's probably going to be gone within the next few days, regardless. It's an unfortunate situation. Quite honestly, it's an unfortunate situation. Another trade news here. Let's kind of just move on from that. Good God, that's territory I don't really want to get into. with the trades keeping going on here. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm just kind of scouring here and trying to figure out something. Trying to remember what I wrote down here in my notes and trying to search through it. Let's see. Sorry about this, guys. Let's see. Oh yeah, so big news yesterday. I don't want to say big news, but kind of a big deal. The Chicago Blackhawks have acquired Seth Jones, the 2021 32nd overall pick and a 2022 6th-round pick for the Columbus Blue Jackets for Adam Boquist, the 2021 12th overall pick, and the 2021 44th overall pick and a 2022 first-rounder. And then the Blue Jackets proceeded to go ahead and flip the 44th overall pick, which they got from that trade, for Jake Bean. Good on the Blackhawks, man. They're really starting to rebuild. I know they're kind of in a sticky situation PR-wise right now. But big ups to the GM for them. They're, what's going on, Simulation Sports Games? How are you? I know they're kind of in a sticky situation publicly right now, the Chicago Blackhawks are, and I'm not going to really get into that because it's still pending. It's an investigation. Yeah. So, but they're really focusing on rebuilding their team. Now, the defense, it really needed work, and they seem to be improving. Jake Bean and Seth Jones. I mean, you got Caleb Jones too, but that remains to be seen. Great start on defensemen there. What's going on, Cincinnati crew? How are you? So just kind of put you guys up to speed to everything. We're going to have our first ever guest today on the show. We're going to have Joshua Kimmel. He was at the game clinching cup or the cup clinching game for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's going to be on here in just about 15 minutes to tell us about all of his experiences with the game and talking some hockey. So we're going to have our first ever fan interview today. It's going to be really awesome. I can't wait to do it. So good on Chicago for moving some assets, Willen and Dillon, getting what they need to start and rebuild their team. And I don't know what the hell Carolina is doing. They're kind of taking everything that Ron Francis built for them and just kind of just tossing it away and throwing it off in the wind and bye. Carolina's been an apoplectic situation for a long time. Going back to the times where the head coach had to beg the team owner to pay his assistants, and they wouldn't even cover the scouts' bills. And I don't know, man. It's been crazy. It's been absolutely crazy. Insane. And then another big deal yesterday went on. The Canucks acquired Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Connor Garland from the Coyotes in exchange for the 2021 9th overall pick, a 2022 second-round pick, and a 2023 7th-round pick, and forwards Jay Beagle, Lou Erickson, and Antoine Roussel. The Coyotes have retained 12% of Oliver Ekman-Larsson's salary with that. So, I mean, they take on a little bit of salary, but they also gain picks. That's a key thing for the Coyotes here is they gain picks. And that's kind of the only thing they could really do to get some skin in this year's draft. They had to forfeit the 11th round pick because of the situation 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah. 2 years ago, and the whole John Chaika stuff. They had to forfeit the 11th overall pick. They didn't have any more picks going forward in the whole tampering situation. So this is the only way that they can rebuild their team. I'm so glad that Arizona is finally realizing that they are overpaying players that are way past their prime, dumping them off, shedding salary, and trying to get younger guys in there. I think of the younger guys they took on in the trade were just basically assets to keep Willen and Dillon for more picks. I think they're just going to keep Willen and Dillon for picks until they have a good stockpile of picks, which is what you want to do. Which is exactly what you want to do if you're a team like the Arizona Coyotes and you're just hurting. You're in a cap hell. You really don't have the cap space to continue to pay those, I guess, veteran guys. And it's not really doing anything to help your team in the long run anyway. They need to let Darcy Kemper go, in my opinion, and they need to let Phil Kessel go. If you're going to blow it up, blow it up. Go all the way. If we're going to do this, let's do this. Let's blow it up all the way. Don't half-ass it. Don't try to keep players just for the sake of, keeping names on your team. It really doesn't, really turn out well. So, St. Louis, another news, the Blues, they acquired Pavel Puchinovich. I don't know, that's how you say it, from the New York Rangers in exchange for forward Samuel Blias and a 2022 second round pick. Rangers also needed to shed salary too. People think that the Rangers are shedding salary to gear up into trading for Jack Eichel. So that would be a very interesting get as well for the Rangers. That would kind of propel. The Rangers went out and got Jack Eichel and stole him away from the Buffalo Sabres. Now we're talking about deep run into the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now we're talking about the Rangers being a legitimate team and a legitimate contender now, especially coming out of the Eastern Conference. Definitely with this cap situation that Tampa Bay's going through, they're going to have to shed salary like nobody else's business because they're so far over the cap. And they can't do the whole LTIR thing anymore. They did it once, but Bettman's not going to let it slide twice. So if the Rangers emerge with Jack Eichel, and they're rumored to be one of the top running teams for him, that's going to be interesting. Tony DeAngelo got put on waivers. The Rangers bought him out yesterday. I don't even know what to even say about that other than the fact that if this has been the guy's third incident in 3 teams. Okay, so to me, I'm judging character of a person, if you just keep doing the same thing over and over again and then apologizing for it, are you really sorry? Like, I believe that Tony DeAngelo just has a ton of anger issues. He has a ton of anger issues. He needs to go get help for that. I don't think the guy should ever lose a job, but I think he's got a lot to prove to any NHL team that wants to pick him up. Best believe that when somebody's going to inquire about Tony DeAngelo, they're going to do a lot of vetting and a lot of making sure that this guy's not going to turn into a PR nightmare like he did for the Rangers. And hopefully he has changed. I hope that for Tony DeAngelo. He is a really good defenseman. He is a talented player. Top 2 defensemen on a team easily. San Jose Sharks placed Lean Bergman on waivers for the purpose of a mutual contract termination. So basically he's like, I want to leave the team. They're like, well, okay, we want you gone too. So we're just going to mutually part ways. He's and go back to the whole Tony DeAngelo thing. He's under 26 years of age. The Rangers do have a significant amount of his, they save a significant amount of his $4.8 million cap hit. He's only entitled to about $1.5 million of the $5 and about $0.5 million initially owed to him in the salary. So, he walks away with some money. I just hope, man. I hope he finds help. I really do. Kind of looking at the cap situation for teams, it's kind of crazy, right? Like the Detroit Red Wings have almost $40 million in cap space. Jesus, man. Almost $40 million. And last night was a pretty good example of Stevie Y absolutely just picking picks to set his team up. I'm telling you guys, the Detroit Red Wings are going to be a prominent force in hockey within the next 5 years. Probably the next 3. It's going to take some time to get there. They got a lot of young guys. They're developing right now, but promise you. I mean, he just picked a goalie that's 6'5" last night. and has the wingspan of a damn vulture. So kind of going the Vasilevsky route with that. It's just insane what the Detroit Red Wings are doing. It really is. And I'm telling you, man, they're going to be people better watch out for the Detroit Red Wings, and they better watch out for the Minnesota Wild, because the Minnesota Wild have almost $30 million of cap space. They have been shutting off cap like it's nobody else's business. They let go Suter, they let go of Parise. Well, they bought him out. They didn't really let him go. But to get this, Tampa Bay, only $754,000 of the cap space, Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm telling you, they're going to shed cap like nobody else's business. It's going to be crazy. Like, expect big names to be either dealt or just completely bought out and gone. I mean, hey, they got 2 cups out of it. If you come to me and tell me, hey, your team's going to win back-to-back cups, but you're going to be severely over the salary cap and you're going to have to basically dismantle that team in year 2, I'm cool with it. I will take 10 years of suckdom for back-to-back Stanley Cups. I'll do it. I'll do it, man. That is one hell of a run they were on. And we're going to talk to Joshua Kimmel about that here coming up in about 10 minutes. We're going to take a break here. We're going to come back and get to a little bit more news, and then we'll bring on Joshua Kimmel. First fan interview here on Crossbars and Zambonis. So stay tuned.
But I know that's just in my mind. I know everything is just in my mind. Do you really want to be famous? Do you really want to be a superstar? Do you really want to get dangerous? Do you even know where the groupies are?
Do you like the Oakland A's? Are you a fan of the Golden Knights? Do you love the Los Angeles Chargers? Well then, my friend, you're in the right place. This is the Snake Sports Talk Show with your host, Jake the Snake Silva, brought to you by the Spotlight Sports Network. What's up, Fantasy Champions? Spotlight Sports Network is excited to tell you about an amazing deal from Thrive Fantasy, your place for daily fantasy sports and esports. Right now, with promo code SS Network, Thrive Fantasy will match up to $50 of your first deposit. So go to thrivefantasy.com and sign up now with promo code SS Network. That's thrivefantasy.com, promo code SS Network.
And you can get more of all that information at our website at spotlightsportsnetwork.com. Make sure you go on. We got, on our merch store, we got t-shirts, hats, whatever you guys need. We got it all, man. We're going to have Joshua Kimmel here in just a few minutes. Get into a little bit more news here. Kind of some sad and unfortunate news for the Colorado Avalanche. Matt Calvert, he announced his retirement at age 31. We all know that basically Calvert had a lot of health issues, and I guess you can kind of say played with reckless abandonment, and had a lot of concussion issues, and that'll do it to you. I mean, you can replace anything else in your body that gets broken except for a brain. Once that gets broken, man, it's hard to fix it, and it's very, very hard to come back from. I know the Avalanche have kind of had a couple of issues with that in recent years, with Ryan Wilson announcing his retirement because he had concussion issues too. And not only that too, he had a lot of obsessive compulsive disorder issues, which is absolutely insane. If you ever get a chance to go read his book or hear his story, it's definitely worth checking out. It's definitely worth checking out. It's a hell of a story. It's a hell of a story, quite honestly. The Bruins closed in on a 4-year, $24 million contract extension with Taylor Hall. His AAV is $6 million. Are we really surprised? Taylor Hall gets paid again. Are we really surprised? I mean, and I don't say that in a bad way. And Taylor Hall deserves every penny that he's getting paid. I mean, he's Taylor Hall. If the GM in Edmonton wasn't such a dunce and knew how to manage his team properly, that wouldn't be going on, in my opinion. I would have all. If you guys stay tuned to my YouTube page today, I'm going to have a whole entire video, just absolutely roasting the shit out of the Edmonton Oilers, because what they're doing is, I can't even say it's questionable. It's just downright stupidity. I don't even know the words for it. But with that being said, here we're going to welcome our guest, our first ever guest here on the Crossbars and Zambonis here on the Spotlight Sports Network, Joshua Kimmel. Josh, how are you, man?
What's going on? What's going on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Perfect.
So, Josh, you were at the cup clinching game for the Tampa Bay Lightning. You attended that game, man. First of all, let's talk about that experience and kind of what went on into that.
Oh man, that was like the loudest game I've ever been to. I've been to many Lightning games. I've been to many Game 7s. The worst one against the Capitals, by the way, like 3-4 years ago, where we lost in Game 7 by 1 goal, a shutout. Anyway, it was crazy loud. The fans were going nuts. Like, it was just the best day of my life, probably, because I've already witnessed one Stanley Cup, but not in person. Now I get to actually go in person. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, well, I mean, nobody could have really attended it last year just because of the simple fact of what's going on in the world right now. But I mean, if anybody could, if all the Lightning fans could have been there, they would have been there in the bubble, you know?
Yeah. How did I forget about 03, 04? I was
that too. Yeah.
I was a young teenager then.
And it was against Carolina, right?
Oh, it was against Calgary.
But they played Carolina in the Eastern Conference Finals, right?
I believe so. They went through Montreal, and then they went through, I think, Carolina, then beat Calgary.
I'll just never forget that I don't know what game it was, because I was just like I was like 12 years old, but I'll just never forget that game that kept going overtime after overtime after. Like, I was living in Colorado at the time, and it was going on to like almost 4:00 in the morning, because it was just like overtime after overtime. I'm pretty sure for you guys on the East Coast, the sun was coming up and the game was just ending.
What was that game last year in the bubble where it went like 7 overtimes last night?
Yeah. I remember that. And the funny thing about that is that in the post-game press conference, the first question the reporter has the nerve to ask is like, how do you guys feel? It's like, well, we just played like a 4-hour game. What do you mean? How do we feel? It's like, probably obviously tired.
It's funny because my friend Dave, who I actually have season ticket members with, he was on a date that night, or he said, hey, I'll go to your house after the Lightning game. And that's the game that went to 7 overtimes. He's like, no, I promise you, I'm not standing you up. Like the game's still going on. He eventually just went to our house and watched it there.
That was nuts because that came on, if I remember, that came on probably early afternoon and it went on till like almost like I remember the sun setting.
Yes.
Yeah, that was like
it was insane. But
it was crazy.
Yeah, back-to-back titles, man. Like you can't like I heard you earlier saying like you would pay back-to-back titles. You would go over the cap. You would have to shed up your entire team to do it. And I don't think we're done. I mean, we're going to lose some players, obviously.
Well, yeah, you guys only got $750,000 in cap space right now. You're going to have to shed some cap.
Have to shed some players. I understand that.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, I'm sorry, but you're not going to get away with the whole LTIR thing anymore. Like you did it once, but Bettman's not going to let it slide again. I promise you, because if it is, Bettman's going to step in and he's going to make a stink about it.
Look, I'm not as a hardcore hockey fan as you are. I don't have a podcast sport and everything, but I don't understand all the rules. But I did, 18 million over the cap was a big thing in Tampa, and we became the heels of the hockey world. We loved it. We embraced it.
When it's funny because before even a salary cap existed, a lot of other teams were doing it too. Like me being an Avalanche fan, I can't tell you how much money we overpaid guys in 01 to win that Stanley Cup. We shelled out pretty much all we had in our payroll to win that Stanley Cup. And that's what you do. That's just how the NHL works. It's such a tough game. It's really hard to win the Stanley Cup, man. It's not an easy feat. And to do it back-to-back times, like it's even harder. I didn't think the Tampa Bay Lightning were going to be able to defend it. I really didn't.
As a Lightning fan and a season ticket member, I thought we should have 4 in a row. To be fair, you got swept by Columbus, the best regular season of all time, and then you get swept by. That's the season I got really cocky, and I'm like, I'm not buying first round. I'm not going to waste my money on the first round. I'm just going to buy all Stanley Cup tickets. I'm going to buy finals tickets. They got swept.
Absolutely.
The year before that, sorry, my son just barged in the room.
That's all good.
But before that, they lost to Game 7 against Washington, and I think that the Lightning were the best team that year, and they could have won the Cup that year. So what I'm saying is it could be 4 years in a row. We could be talking about the best hockey team of all time.
Dude, as an Avalanche fan, I get you with that this year because damn Vegas. We would have gotten past Vegas, man. We would have absolutely ran through Montreal.
God, Montreal was so funny. That was such a fun. I'm sitting there. I'm on vacation during game 4, and I'm sitting on the beach watching the game. I'm like, come on, man, come on, lose. I want to win at home.
I think people keep saying that they didn't purposely throw that game, but they purposely threw that game.
It's funny because our mayor Jane Castor, she's like, come on, let's lose tonight and let's bring it home.
Yeah,
and he got roasted.
Well, and not only that, they weren't allowing the players to have their families fly up to Canada. They couldn't celebrate with their families or any of their friends or anything. So it's like, yeah, on those circumstances, I'm a competitive guy, but I'd want to lose too. Like it's like I want to be back at home, man. And it's so much easier to start your bender when you're at home. You can go back and sleep in your own bed. A lot easier to do that than to have to jump on a plane right after and ride all the way back down to Florida.
Yeah, that night afterwards, people were going nuts in Tampa. No, it wasn't like So on my Twitter, I shared back when Montreal beat when they got to the Stanley Cup Finals. They were turning over cars, they were riding, they were being psychopaths. And I quote tweeted it and said, "This is the definition of just happy to be here because they haven't won anything." And then Tampa Bay won. They beat the Islanders, and then it was business as usual. I knew they were going to destroy that team because that team wasn't.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, now we know with Carey Price, he's staring down the barrel of another surgery. You got to wonder how much that factored into it too, man. It probably was bothering the hell out of him. I mean, we all know all the a lot of players on the Lightning dealt with injuries too. Like it wasn't just Carey Price, but. And then Shea Weber, we all know, was dealing with what he's dealing with, and he's probably going to end his career. Quite honestly, he's probably never going to be able to play again with what he's got going on. So, I mean, it's not an excuse for the Montreal Canadiens. They should have showed up. Everybody deals with injuries at the end of the year. I
love the injuries at the end, like when they say, "Oh, Kucherov had broken ribs or fractured ribs." This player was playing with a broken fibula. Like it happens every single year. They just don't announce it till after the Cup.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, as a Colorado Avalanche fan, if Peter Forsberg could have been there in 01, had he not had his spleen ripped out of him the day before, he probably would have been there.
Yeah.
Like he wanted to play, but like the doctors were like, "No, you just had your spleen ripped out of you, dude. You're not gonna." His spleen ruptured the game prior. It was starting to rupture, and then he got it ripped out of him, and then he was not there for Game 7.
Yeah, hockey players are a different breed, man. So what's up with the Seattle hat? I don't like that.
Well, I live in Seattle, man.
You took my favorite player of all time. Not of all time, but from the Lightning. You took my favorite player, Yanni Gourde. We all knew it was coming.
He's going to have surgery. We're not getting him till mid-November. They're talking about he's going to be out about 2 to 4 weeks. I guess he's dealing with some wrist issues or something like that. He's not, but yeah, I mean, everybody was going to lose a player. You know,
I know.
It's just I expected them to pick up bigger names, and I'm not quite sure what the Kraken are doing right now because I expected because of the such young guys they were picking. I was thinking, okay, these are just assets to will and deal for bigger players, especially on the forward group. Like I thought they would, because their defense is fine. The defenseman they picked is like the freaking Monstars on Space Jam. It's like massive. They're gonna like absolutely kill the entire league, but like the forward group, you kind of look at that and you're like, okay, well, how are you going to overcompensate for good defensemen if you can't score goals? You know, that's kind of the thing. The forwards are kind of questionable. So I'm not entirely sure what Ron Francis is doing right now. He's only made one deal since the expansion draft. So, I mean, they drafted that kid from Michigan last night. He's a good center, you know, second overall, but I don't know what's going on. And everybody in the hockey world is like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? You're under the cap by about $30 million. You got all this cap space. You got all these young guys. Let's will and deal here. And I think he's just waiting. I don't know if he's waiting on the Landeskog situation to be over with in Colorado so they can make a run at him, or if he's just waiting for free agency in general, which is in 4 days. I have no idea what's going on with Seattle, but it's like we were expecting all these. I was expecting him to will and deal all these young guys and these picks and just get picks out of it or bigger names.
Yeah, well, let's keep it in Tampa since that's what I mainly focus on. For me, I'm more of a football guy, fantasy football guy, and stuff like that. But I do have season tickets, so I do watch hockey a lot. But as far as around the league, I didn't really understand who was available. I was focused on my team. So who are you for the Lightning focusing on? Like, who did you want to grab? Did you want Palat? Did you want Gourde?
I mean, I wanted Gourde.
Okay.
I wanted Gourde. I wanted him like bad because I was like, man, that guy's a monster ass defenseman.
Whenever they put out the protected list, and dude, we went nuts as Tampa Bay fans. We went insane. Like we were committing suicide. Like we did not happen.
I mean, it's like with the cap situation, and then you could only protect 7, 3, and 1. Like, or you can do. I think it's 9 skaters, but it's 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and a goalie. Like, you have to leave somebody exposed. But I think you guys protected ultimately the people that, if you wanted to let go, you were going to get something for them. You weren't going to just lose them to the Kraken for nothing. You know, I think ultimately the core stays there, Kucherov, and I think Tyler Johnson's gone. I think he gets dealt.
We can only hope.
Yeah, I think Tyler Johnson gets dealt.
And when Johnny B. Good gets played on the PA system when he scores, it's fucking awesome. There's nothing like it. It's too much money. Too much money. I was hoping, and I know this wasn't going to happen, but McDonough, I wish they didn't protect him, and you guys
just let him go. Yeah,
because well, I mean, that just tells me that the Lightning are ready for a three-peat, or they're going to try because they're keeping someone like him around because he does like. I mean, come on, it's one of the best defense in the whole league. The entire league Tampa Bay has. So why break it up?
You got to keep Pat Maroon too.
I know
he's won 3 Stanley Cups in a row.
Yeah.
How do you not like? He's like. I don't think he's like he is a badass player, but he's more so your good luck charm than anything. Quite honestly,
he's just fun. That's all. He's just fun.
Did you listen to the interview that Spit and Chicklets just did with him?
I did not.
Oh man, they had Pat Maroon on, and I forget the other player, but they had 2 Lightning players on. Man, they just did an interview with him. Hilarious. Those guys are so fucking funny, dude. I love them.
So, on the outside, how did you perceive the whole Kucherov afterwards, where he was talking about number one bullshit?
Number one bullshit.
because they have T-shirts made.
Oh
know?
yeah, I knew. The minute he said that, I knew T-shirts were going to be made for it. I was like, this guy's great. I thought honestly, the shit he said during the parade was even better. Did you hear what he was saying during the parade?
I heard some of it, man.
He's like, they're the best. We do this all the time. We win. He's like
there was that one Fox or CBS News, or like they were live. He's like, "Are we live yet?" No, we're live. He's like, "All right, well, let's fucking go."
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, don't cuss, don't do it."
Yeah.
I love that guy, man. That guy is like, he is definitely somebody you want in your locker room for sure, man. He's like the heartbeat of that team as far as like leadership goes and chemistry in that locker room. You could tell he's a fun guy.
Yeah, without him, like I know everyone's saying it, oh, you made it this far without Kucherov, he faked an injury. Dude, just the fact that we played an entire season, but granted it was less games, without our best player, without our best skater, and still made it to the playoffs and still had a pretty good lead. Come on, man. Like,
well, not only that, there's teams in other sports that do that shit all the time. Baseball is like the number one case of players having bullshit injuries and them saving them for the playoffs.
Right.
That's the number one sport.
Yeah.
that does that.
Right. They don't have a cap.
No, they don't have a cap, but they'll do that to rest players so that you can have them for the playoffs, especially pitchers. They will sit there and rest pitchers and make sure that they're ready, especially if they got the division locked up and they know they're going into the playoffs.
Right.
But
right.
I thought Kucherov was right though. I thought it was kind of bullshit that Fleury got the Vezina. I thought Vasilevsky should have. I think Marc-Andre Fleury got the Vezina because of politics. Really, honestly, like he did not have a better season than Vasilevsky. That's I not even close. It wasn't even close. And to get, I guess, to get eliminated by Montreal, like
It's funny because I had Dave Randorf on my show, the play-by-play guy for the Lightning, and he So I asked him like the last question. I said, "Hey Dave, like, what's the only way?" This is when they were playing before the Islanders. We had him on, and I said, "Hey Dave, when's the only way the Lightning lose the Stanley Cup? Like, how do they not win? Because we all know they're going to." He's like, "The only way is if Vazzy gets hurt."
Yep,
the only way.
Or he just doesn't perform up to par. He has a few bad nights. Really, that's. You live and die by the goaltender in hockey now. That's the way it's structured. Like you want a good solid defense, but ultimately you need an elite goalie.
What do you have?
You need it
in the playoffs, and
because a lot of that is because the forwards, they're getting younger and faster, and the game is becoming more skilled based. As far as damn, half of these skaters they might as well be like ice skaters, the way they like deacon and finessing people out on the ice, like. It's hard for the defenseman to keep up with that. So you need an elite goalie. You need that now to win a Stanley Cup. It's not even a question. It's just like a quarterback in football. You need a good quarterback to win a Super Bowl. You're not doing it without it.
Exactly. That's what scared. That's the little thing that scared me about Montreal. Like, oh man, Price is really going to put on some games because there's some games where we just don't score. Like,
every team goes through that, man. Every team goes through that. Like. I don't know. I'm kind of questioning things myself in Colorado when they're wanting to re-sign Grubauer. And I was just like, I understand that he's been to a Stanley Cup. He technically led the Washington Capitals into a Stanley Cup, but he got benched in the final. You know what I mean? Ultimately, Holtby stepped in and he sealed that cup for Washington, So
I look around and I'm like, oh man, like that guy just let up 5 goals and they're pulling them. Like we don't ever have that problem. We don't. Fan base doesn't know our backup. Because we don't need them.
Right. And going back to the whole Fleury thing too, not only losing to Montreal, but not playing in the elimination game too. That is like, I don't even know what to make of that. I don't know if I should be concerned or maybe Fleury was dealing with some injuries or what the hell was going on. But if you're in an elimination game, why would you not put your best option out there that gives you the best chance to win a game? That was a questionable move by the Las Vegas Golden Knights for me. I was like, you're in an elimination game. It's one thing when it's like he doesn't have it and you're only down 1-0, 2-0, whatever. But in an elimination game, you're not going to throw Marc-Andre Fleury out there?
Well, to use the baseball analogy, you have a starting pitcher in an elimination game. You better put your best one out there.
Yeah, you better put your ace out there.
Why not put your best option out there? It doesn't make sense.
It didn't make any sense to me, and it's got me questioning. It leaves me with a lot more questions than answers about Vegas. It really does. It's like, where do you guys go from here? You guys have a really, because they, a lot like you guys, they have a ton of talent on that team, and I don't know where you go from there. I don't know how you beef it up anymore. It's like, do you get rid of Marc-Andre Fleury now? Because that's kind of where their weakness lies. I mean, they got Ryan Reeves, they got Max Pacioretty. They have like enforcers and physicality and then good forwards too. But your goaltending is questionable. It's questionable now. And, do you get rid of a Vezina trophy winning goalie? Like, he just won the Vezina. Are you going to really do that to him? Like, I don't know. It's crazy, man. It's crazy in Vegas. It really is.
Wacky time in sports where you get rid of a Vezina trophy winning goaltender, and in football, you're getting rid of an MVP quarterback in Green Bay. Like, it doesn't matter anymore. Like,
yeah. Like I know you being a Lightning fan, Josh. I know you're being a Lightning fan. You obviously, like you said, you think Lightning are getting ready for a three-peat. I would only put a little pushback on it because of just this simple fact. The NHL is going back to an 82-game schedule this year. And I think a lot like what happened in the NBA this year, where a lot of players weren't ready for that, I think they're going to get hurt. I think there's going to be a ton of injuries coming up this year because they're going from 56 to 82. And I just think it's going to be like it was in the NBA. The team that you don't think is going to win the cup, who has the healthiest team, is probably going to end up winning the cup.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And we're not the healthiest team ever. Kucherov just missed the whole year. Stamkos seems to get hurt every year going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Always. So you're right. Like, it could happen.
It could happen. I don't know. I'm calling all the gambling guys now. Just go lay $100 on like the Hurricanes or something. Maybe not on the Hurricanes with all the Willen and Dylan and stuff they've been doing, but just on a team that doesn't have a ton of veteran players and some young, hungry guys. I don't know, like Minnesota. Right. They got nearly $30 million in cap space. They just shed off a ton of cap, and they have Kaprizov. Like, they got one of the greatest young players in the game right now, who's really, really making noise in Minnesota. Like, I mean, you saw what they did in the playoffs.
Yeah. So what about New York Islanders? Are they going to make a big run for it again? In Tampa, they would have been right there. They would have won the cup straight up.
I think that's all going to depend on what happens with Jack Eichel. They're in the running for Jack Eichel as well as New York Rangers. So, I mean, if they can get Jack Eichel, absolutely. I mean, why wouldn't they? I mean, they just lost Eberson to the Kraken. So that was kind of a big loss for them. But they still have a very good young core. I mean, and they still got Varlamov. I mean, he's pretty solid.
Right.
They gave you guys all you could handle. Really. They gave you guys fits.
That was a stressful series, man. That was probably I had Game 7 tickets to that too. I couldn't go to the game, unfortunately. I had to get rid of them. But
that sucks.
I know I had to. Kids and stuff,
I get it.
We try to go because we get tickets before anyone else because we're STM, and we try to go to as many games as we possibly can. But when they come on Friday night or like a Wednesday night, a school night or whatever, we just can't go. But yeah, I had tickets and I was super stressed out watching it on TV. Like, I would much rather be there because that's the atmosphere that Tampa Bay had. I don't know if you've ever been to a Lightning game or been down here.
Nope.
It's probably the best place to watch a game, in my opinion. I don't know. I've had other travel.
It looked that way on TV. It looked that way. I mean, it looked like it was pretty rocking. But to be fair, New York Islanders atmosphere was pretty damn raucous as well, man. They get loud there.
I brought that up for a reason because I wanted you to say that. Yeah, congratulations, you guys got loud. Cool, yeah. Like, you guys got loud. I remember the first game 1, we got criticized. You guys weren't loud. You guys weren't cheering your teams. Like,
what's that matter?
Yeah, like, cool. You guys were loud and you waved your towels. Cool.
It matters in football because then you can't, you distract the quarterback and the team from hearing calls at the line, and that can change everything. But in hockey, it really, I mean, I guess it can get in your head, but like, you're talking about guys who, like, have you ever heard NHL players mic'd up at all ever? Like, you talk about getting in each other's head. They already do that for the fans. The fans don't need to do that. like the way they're chirping each other. It's like, yeah, the head games is hockey's thing. It's what they do. It's especially the smaller guys, you know.
So you live in Seattle or close to them. How hard was the season tickets to try to get? Like, were they sell out instantly?
Oh,
Or-
they've been sold out before, like right as the team got announced. So season tickets there's a wait list for them. Now, I really want to be there opening night. So I went to go inquire because the schedule got released 2 days ago.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, so that must mean tickets are available. Well, I went up to the Ticketmaster website. They have a lottery system for single game tickets. So on Tuesday, this upcoming Tuesday, or August 2nd, is that this upcoming Tuesday? I don't think so. Let's see.
August 3rd, I think.
August 3rd. Yeah. So August 3rd. So 2 weeks from now, Ticketmaster said they will, if I win the lottery, they will email me the pre-sale code and I will be having access to get single game tickets.
Oh, that's
so
perfect. Yeah.
I'm hoping to be there opening night against Vancouver on October 23rd. So that's going to be interesting. And I'm pretty sure even as the team is presently constituted, it probably is going to be a win against Vancouver because Vancouver is just, God, they're terrible. They're in shambles right now in Vancouver. Man, have you seen what Edmonton's been doing though?
Have not.
Jesus, dude. Like they're trying to piss off Connor McDavid. I promise you that.
Really?
Yeah. So obviously we all saw that they got bounced in the first round, 4-0 by the Winnipeg Jets, you know, and it was very apparent that their back end of their defensemen were just absolute shit. It was terrible. I mean, you go look at all the stats for that whole series. It's -2, -4, like they're all on the ice, and it's not all Mike Smith's fault. I get that Mike Smith is an aging goalie. He's 38 years old, about to be 39. But if you have a bad defense and you can't create a net presence to defend it, it doesn't help you either. And so you're thinking, okay, so maybe they'll go out and get a defenseman. No, they go out and they make a trade. Who was that the other day? They went out and they got a center.
Really? Wow.
And I'm just like they got Zach Hyman. Like they're rumored to get Zach Hyman, and it's like, you guys have a good center on your team. He wears number 97. His name's Connor McDavid. Why do you need another center? You can't overcompensate for a bad defense with more goal scoring. It's not going to ever work. You'll win some games, but you ain't going to win the games that matter.
It's not even old. He's the best player in the world. Like
yeah.
Talk about like football again. They draft Jordan Love to replace Aaron Rodgers. He gets pissed off. Like, hey, I need help. Why are you looking for a player that you already have that position covered? You're good. You need defense.
And then they doubled down last night by drafting another center.
That's awesome.
They draft another center. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, if Connor McDavid, I get that they got Duncan Keith. Like, they went out and they get Duncan Keith, and like, that is a defenseman, but like, he is not half the player he used to be. For all the accolades that Duncan Keith has, you know, he's Olympic gold medalist, 3-time Stanley Cup champion, on and on, Norris Trophy winner, like elite. But those days are behind him, and he is not going to have those expectations in Edmonton like he did in Chicago. So, like, if McDavid wasn't pissed, he's going to be pissed. Like, you guys are not doing anything to help him and Draisaitl at all. Like, these guys are busting their ass, and they carry the whole entire team of what was the team in the playoffs. And I just think you're just adding more gas to that fire. It's just absolutely terrible what they're doing in Edmonton. I got a whole video. I absolutely roasted the Edmonton Oilers in my new video that's coming up later on today. But dude, that's terrible. And then I'm going to go to Toronto next, because what Toronto is doing is absolutely asinine too. GM came out the other day and he was like, yeah, we're rolling back the same team. I believe in these guys. I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah.
You believe in all that?
That's
You're going to re-sign Joe Thornton? That's what you're going to do? I mean, Joe Thornton's legendary. Don't get me wrong. Respect for him, but I got a rib cracked last year and he was out for like 3 months. Like, I don't think that's going to.
These teams, whether what sport it is, they don't think. They don't think like,
yeah.
They just, what are you doing?
Yeah, general manager for the Maple Leafs came out. He's like, I'm going to live and die with this team. I was like, well, I guess you're going to die. Because that team was absolutely terrible. Yes, it's chock-loaded with talent. Don't get me wrong, but Yeah, no, you got some serious fixing to make on that Toronto Maple Leafs team.
So
It's crazy.
what, 4 or 3 years ago when Stammer was a free agent or whatever, he was gonna go to Toronto, right? He
Right.
decided to come back, play with us. That tells me everything you need to know about that organization. You couldn't even lock up.
Yeah. Well, not only that, a lot of American players don't want to go to Canada because of the media, especially in Toronto. The media is like so scrutinizing to every little detail. I don't blame any player for not wanting to deal with that shit at all. Like you get scrutinized every time you do something just a little bit wrong, and the minute you do something a little bit wrong, they question your entire ability and your entire game. Like, who the hell would ever question Austin Matthews? But like the Toronto media has several times, and it's like, why are you questioning him?
That's
Like he is doing all that he needs to be, and he's being an elite player. He's worth every bit of that $16 million he's getting paid a year. Like it's not Austin Matthews' fault. Okay.
It's much easier to play in an American city, I guess. Like somewhere like here, Tampa, we don't whatever. Do whatever you want, win games. Like there's no criticism ever.
Tax-free state too. So there's that.
And it's sunny like 9-10 months a year.
Yeah. It's awesome. You can have a boat parade.
The boat parade awesome.
Yeah, like did you go to it?
No, man. Vinnick's son got married on Sunday, so they couldn't do it on Sunday, and so they had to do it on Monday. Which that's what they said. I'm pretty sure it's because they didn't want 10 million people at the boat parade, so they did it on Monday. Yeah, I tried to sneak out, I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
my friend had video. So my friend I saw yesterday actually, he had video of Kucherov pouring beers all over him. Like literally Kucherov's like
he's like Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's just
yeah. Like he had a Coors in one hand and a Bud Light in the other hand. Just oh, did you guys hear about the Coors Light ice they made with game 1 of ice?
Yes.
I went and got some.
How did it taste? Did you taste it? Did you open it?
Yeah. Well, no. So it was on draft on like 6 local bars, and they ran out of the cans before I can get there, and it was just a Coors. And I'm like,
yeah,
cool. You can be lying to me. I don't care. But I went anyway. I wanted to get the Crowler. I really wanted that, but they were sold out, instantly sold out.
A lot of people were like, well, that's unsanitary. I'm like, dude, they're going to filter the water. It's not like they're going to leave all those chemicals and shit in there.
A lot of people didn't read it. Like game 5 was just 4 days ago. How did you make a beer that fast? No, they took it from game 1. And then if you read the article, you see how they accelerated the process. All that. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, they're because they paint the ice too. They're not going to leave paint in the damn beer and make you just drink lead and shit. Like it's not going to happen. Like they would have a serious, massive lawsuit on their hands if that was unsanitary in any least bit. You like, I'm pretty sure like it's just kind of like they do with the whole merchandise for the Stanley Cup winning teams. They probably had made beers for both teams. And whatever team won, they were going to release that beer. This was probably negotiated months in advance, or probably a couple. Because there was like a week break between the conference finals and the Stanley Cup.
It's a while, yeah.
Yeah, so they probably negotiated it within that time, and probably just had it. Okay, whatever 2 teams are in the Stanley Cup final, we're going to do this with Bud Light. Sponsorship deals are negotiated way ahead of time. Yeah.
It was funny though, as I was drinking, and I'm like, oh, this tastes kind of weird, like what is it? Someone's blood? Like it's in your head when you think it's
right.
Like nice, like oh, that's someone's snot. Like
yeah, somebody's spit.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody's tooth got in here. No,
yeah,
that's crazy, man. No, and it's they also did they do the pucks this year too, where they put the ice and it like turns to water and it's in a glass puck?
I didn't, dude. I don't ever buy. I'm so cheap. I don't buy merch. I'll tell you what.
I think the towels are ridiculous. Like, who needs a fucking Stanley Cup towel? Like, why?
I bought a shirt from Dick's Sporting Goods that says boat parade something repeat something like it's all over the Tampa Bay Sports website. Yeah. I bought one shirt for like $35. And I own 2 jerseys, and I don't really. In this, I got this for Christmas, so like, I'm cheap as freak, man. The one jersey was Gord, so there you go. Got to get another jersey.
I get you, man. Like I want the Kraken jerseys really bad. Like they look really awesome, but at the same time, I've also been monitoring jerseys that have been dropping. Like with baseball, they've been like other teams have been coming out with new jerseys, and because of inflation right now. Like they released the All-Star game jerseys for Colorado, right? They were $434 a jersey. And I was like, if that's the price on the Kraken jersey, I'm not paying that.
So I
There's
went
no way.
to the All-Star game when it was here in Tampa for NHL. I
Yeah.
bought a Vasilevsky All-Star jersey. So that was like $225. And
You bought a
then
Vasilevsky one?
yeah, so I have a
Nice.
Vasilevsky All-Star jersey. And then when I think 2 years ago, when they came out with those all black jerseys for Tampa Bay,
Yeah.
they gave us one for free for being a member, but
Nice.
no name on the back. So I had to pay $100 to get my name on the back. So I picked Gord, and I just picked that up. So I only paid $100 for that jersey.
Nice.
But I'm looking at jerseys, like $275 isn't bad. If I'm gonna wear it to every game, which I usually do, I wear the jersey
Right.
every time. But I don't know. Every time I buy a jersey, no matter what sport, the player leaves or gets replaced. 100%.
Yeah. That's why I buy blank jerseys.
Yeah.
That's
Like I bought a Mark Minshew jersey for football. Now they have Trevor
Yeah,
Lawrence.
he's gone. Yeah, I did the same thing. Like, I'm a Houston Rockets fan. I bought a James Harden jersey, and then like 6 months later, he's like, "Fuck this, I'm out. I want out." And I'm
Yes,
like,
he wore a fat suit and then he got traded.
"Yeah," and I'm like, "No, I'm not doing this ever again. I'm buying blank jerseys."
I bought a jersey. He got traded.
I'm either gonna buy blank jerseys or retired Legends jerseys
Dude,
because those
friend-
guys aren't going nowhere.
My friend was smart when he got this black jersey. He got St. Louis. I'm like, well, St.
There
Louis
you
never
go.
wore that jersey, but he's like the best hockey player that ever came to Tampa. So you can never not wear that.
Exactly.
He got a jersey and he just put Cooch on the back, like hey, and like
Yeah.
use and then CH. So that one's never gonna go out of style.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's kind of my rule because I'm just like, I'm tired of looking like a dumbass every time I buy a jersey, and then
I talk about this with my buddies all the time. Football jerseys, you don't want to wear old. Baseball, you don't want to wear old. But hockey, that when you see like an old Yager jersey, like, oh wow, like
well, yeah,
that's cool. Like that's cool. So I think you get away with it like the old players, like the legends wearing an old jersey, but the new ones, like I don't want to wear my Gord jersey ever again unless he comes back to Tampa and I'll support him.
Or unless you have like a Tony D'Angelo situation, then I don't think anybody's going to support his jersey.
No, I don't think. Yeah.
Do you know what happened with Tony D'Angelo?
I heard. I don't really see.
Yeah.
I heard.
So the Rangers, so this is the third year he's been on a third different team, and every single one of the times he gets in fights and yells racist slurs at his teammates in practice.
It's so dumb.
And he's just like I don't know what's wrong. He's got anger issues. It's very apparent. I mean, if you're starting fights with goaltending teammates in practice, like that's you got to go pretty far out of your way to get in a fight with your own goalie. Like
mental problems, man.
Yeah.
How many questions, like that's pretty sad.
I hope he gets help, man. I hope he gets help because the Rangers just bought out his contract yesterday and they placed him on waivers. And so I hope he gets the help that he needs. Honestly, like I don't wish bad upon anybody because like he is a really good defenseman and he's like only like 25 years old. Like this guy's got the sky is the limit for this guy. Like he's really good, but it's not worth it if it's just going to cause a PR nightmare for your team and you're going to be having to keep breaking up fights within teammates.
When you're told your entire life that you're great everywhere you go, you're great, and you finally make it to the show and you realize you're not as great as, you know what I mean? You
realize it's 5-on-5. It's not 1-on-5. Yeah,
exactly.
Especially in hockey, it's 5-on-5. Like it's not the NBA. It's definitely not where you have like three good players and that's it. No, you need to have like three solid lines is what you need, and a really amazing goaltender. that's what it takes. It really is a team effort. That's why I love hockey, and hockey's my favorite sport because it really takes an entire team to win a championship.
It's the ultimate team sport. There's no other team sport like this.
Absolutely. Well, Josh, I want to thank you for joining us, man. That's our time for today. I really appreciate it. Best to you. Is there any? Can we go any social medias to follow you on? I know you said you had a podcast. Yeah,
on Twitter, Josh Kimmel OUS. You could follow me on my podcast, OUS Fantasy Football Podcast, Once Upon a Sunday Fantasy Football Podcast. And I actually started up a wrestling podcast, huge wrestling fan, Real Talk Wrestling. You can find all that on Spotify, Google, whatever, iTunes, anywhere.
Awesome. That's awesome. I love wrestling, man. I love wrestling.
Currently, I know.
Yeah, I've been following it a little bit. We actually have a guy on our network that does wrestling. His name is Malcolm. He does Ghoulie does it all. He lives in Chicago too, so like he's kind of in the mecca of wrestling. And so he kind of I've just been hearing a lot of like CM Punk might be coming back, and Daniel Bryan might be signing with AEW too.
That's already done.
That's done. Nice. That's awesome. Apparently, like I watch Wrestle Talk a lot too, so I watch those guys, And apparently some source said that like the CM Punk deal is done, but they don't know what that means. Like, is it signed or is it just a handshake or what is it? Honestly, man, I have a differing opinion about CM Punk than anybody else. I used to be the biggest CM Punk fan ever, but I cannot forgive him after he openly disrespected the business on his time away and became a typical UFC meathead and was like, yeah, fuck wrestling, it's fake. I can't get with that anymore when you're coming back. And then you want to sit there in your own documentary and say it's not about money, but it clearly is, because that's every time he's been close to an agreement with the company, it's like, there's not enough money. It's not enough money. So it's clearly all about money then. I don't know. It's just kind of like a facade with him. Like,
dude, we could have a whole other podcast about this because I feel the same way. But
yeah,
when Punk comes out, I'm gonna mark out like nobody's business.
Everybody is.
Top 3 favorite wrestlers of all time, and I just wrestler, like not person, wrestler, like who,
right?
Because I love Chris Jericho is my number 101. He's my guy. Right. But I listen to this podcast and I'm like, you're a piece of shit. Like, I really don't like you as a person. I wish I didn't know you. I wish I didn't listen to your podcast, but I love you as a performer. And CM Punk's the same exact way for me.
Chris Jericho? You don't think he's a great person?
Every single time, I don't know. Like, he's this. I created this. I did this. This is my thing. Like, he's just so selfish. And he lives in Tampa. I live in Tampa, so I've heard stories about him.
So you've been over to his house for cocktails, right?
I have not, but I've been next to Roman Reigns' house one time. So look at this, because everyone lives in Tampa. John Cena, I see Cena sometimes. Like I see a lot of wrestlers. I used to work out with Drew McIntyre.
You used to work out with Drew McIntyre?
Yeah, so I Fitness for 10 down here in Tampa. Him and Mason Ryan were working out. And I recognized both of them, and I'm like, oh, that's them. So I never said anything. I never told them I was a huge like wrestling fan or whatever. So they would get the whole thing of like, you're Batista, but no, I'm Mason Ryan, because remember they looked kind of alike. And I would work out in the same time frame, but I would never talk to them. And one time,
you don't do that as a wrestling fan. That's a good way to get told no and then just screamed at by a wrestler.
Right. So I never talked to him, whatever. So I was doing some shoulder presses one day, and Drew actually sat in my seat in my bench because I'm supersetting. I come back and I'm like, hey man, I was working out there, but we could work in together. It's fine. And Drew looks at me. He's like, all right, what's next? So I grab some dumbbells and he's like, he's
that's awesome.
And for like a good 2 weeks, we were like, he would come to me and go, hey, I need a spot. Or I'll go to him, I need a spot. And then that was it. Like, that was the end of our little workout session.
Dude, how massive is that guy? That guy's fucking massive.
So I'm benching like, 225, whatever, like 215. Yeah. He was like 400 pounds on there. Yeah. I'm like, I cannot. I told him, I said, I can't do this. Like, I can't lift this bar up.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's been working out for like, I don't know, probably since he hit puberty and shit. Like, like, that's insane though. But that's one thing that people don't realize, dude, is like, don't be a fucking fan when you go up to these people. Like, play it cool. If you just play it cool, you would be surprised as to what happens. Yeah, I've experienced that myself.
So back to my real quick Roman Reigns story. So my brother and my best friend were like, hey, we're going to play poker at my friend's house. I'm like, nah, I'm out tonight. It's kind of late. 2 hours later, they're sending me a selfie. Roman Reigns is in the back like, hey. And I'm like, what the freak, man? And I know exactly where the house is. I know exactly whose house that is. And I know where Roman lives. And I'm like, I could have been playing poker with Roman Reigns, but I didn't.
Yeah, but even though you know that too, it's not like you're going to go up to his. It's not like you're going to go up to his door and knock on it. Like that's first of all, he's never home, probably, like hardly ever, because he's the face of the company right now. But second of all, it's just like you just don't do that shit, man. Like that is the wrestler's only sanctity of privacy is their house. Like they hardly ever get to come home. They're constantly, especially a guy like Roman Reigns, he's constantly berated with fans. Probably not so much in the recent years, but given the fact of the pandemic, but like when they're on the road, dude, they're constantly being berated by fans.
They can't get coffee. They can't go to Disney. They can't do anything. It's just that's why I just leave people alone. I really do. And it's common to see them out here. It really is common to see people in Tampa.
Yeah. Everybody's moving there, man. Athletes, wrestlers, like, especially since the pandemic too, because WWE basically just set up a bubble and Tampa was like, this is where we're at. And I'm sure a lot of more wrestlers have lived down there now than used to. And the Performance Center too.
That's over in Orlando. Yeah, they were doing the Thunderdome in St. Pete, Tropicana Field. And then they had to move to the Yingling Center where I actually graduated high school. Like right there, like it's 10 minutes from my house, you know.
That's crazy.
That's just we're the mecca of everything, sports, football, everything.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Did you see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers new ring? You see that Super Bowl ring? Dude, it's got this removable top on it. And in the ring is Raymond James Stadium.
Yep.
And it's got all the scores of all the playoff games. I'm just like, Tom Brady would do something like that.
I live in Tampa, but I'm a Dolphins fan first. And
yeah.
I hate all my Bucs fans. They all know that. All the people that are going to watch this, all you Bucs fans, I'm sorry. But gosh, I hate Tom Brady so much.
But I do too, man. Hey, you know what? I'll tell you something. As a Broncos fan, it was absolutely sweet in the 2015 AFC Championship game to watch Von Miller absolutely eviscerate him all afternoon. It was football porn to me. I was like, yes, he's just getting his face beat in for like 2 hours. Like we barely won that game, but it was very satisfying to see Tom Brady get his face smashed in for 2 hours straight.
Yeah, that's good times. Hey man, it's been really fun talking to you. This is awesome, actually.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate it, man. Go follow Josh, man. Follow us too. Thank you guys for all your time today. Everybody who watched, probably all 3 of you that did. We are done with this off-season sessions, and we will see you next week.
Later, guys.